I have in front of me a Triax TMM 520 satellite and terrestrial splitter. Basically, the idea of this is to take the input from both a quattro LNB and a terrestrial aerial and to provide outputs for up to 4 multi-switches. So it's a really clever, simple product. It's available with free shipping directly from freetv.ie, and it's from a brand name company, Triax, so you just know it's going to be a good product. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give an overview of exactly what we get in the box. We're going to take a detailed look at the product itself, and then I'm going to give an idea of how it actually set this up in the real world. So it comes in this outer box here, a couple of screws here, or nuts, which can be used alternatively to mount this onto a racking or directly onto a wall, piece of timber, something like that, okay? Just move this out of the way. I'll come down to the main event here, which is, well, I'll show you on the input side here. So the first thing to note is with 5 inputs here. So I'm just going to take off the first one here, which actually is the terrestrial one. So it's an F-connect type connection in all cases. So this is, if we got a TV aerial, we'll feed it directly in here. And if we're taking feeds from a terrestrial or from a quattro LNB, what we do is we'd feed it into the horizontal and the vertical, both high and low, okay, and they're color coded exactly as we'd have on a quattro LNB, right? And there's an earth cable here as well, which you'd obviously you'd need to connect up for a good setup. And on the output side, well, what we have is exactly what we have on the input side, but now we have 4 of them, okay? So we'll work our way down here, and we have 4 things. So a terrestrial, and again, the horizontal highs and lows for both vertical and horizontal, okay? And it just works down through here. So let's just come along here and actually see how we'd set this up. So if we come along and we'll say we just, facing this side here, we had an 80 centimetre dish, for instance, which would be the normal outside, and we have a quattro LNB here. What we can do is we can actually come along and we can run the cables over here, connect the 4 of them up, and if we had a terrestrial aerial here, UHF aerial, we'd run it over and we have it. So now it's ready in terms of inputs, and all of these outputs will now be live. And what we could do is, if we had our first multi-switch set up here, this is a 5x8 multi-switch, but it could be a 5x32 multi-switch, for instance. We can run the 4 cables over here to the satellite inputs, and then we, on the top here, we also have a terrestrial input. We run another cable over here, and we replicate exactly the same with the next multi-switch, and we can have up to 4 multi-switches on this. So in terms of how many TVs could you then support? Well, if we looked at the multi-switch here, we'll say this is an 8 output one, but very popular inside the range as well are 16s, and indeed there's 32-way outputs on it as well. So if you had all 4 of these being supported, you could actually be supporting up to 128 separate satellite outputs with a terrestrial connection on it as well. So it's given great flexibility on it, and what it's really saved on is the need both for us and also for people designing out or putting in these type of systems. The design around having cascade units. So in the past you'd say, oh, I have 8 TVs I'm going to use, but I might need some in the future. Maybe I should buy a cascade multi-switch. Well, instead of doing that, what you can do is you can install it, run it off the quattro LNB, and if down the line you need to start adding on extra TVs or building another apartment block or something like this, another series of bedrooms in a hotel that you need to connect on, suddenly you just disconnect quattro LNB that was running straight to the multi-switch and put a unit like this in here, and all of a sudden the same dish in the same area can now support multiple multi-switches. So it's really, really clever, sits really well with our overall product range. So what do we stock here at Free TV? We have the quattro LNBs, we have the splitters, we have the multi-switches. We also have the Diplex faceplates for splitting the signal back out. So really comprehensive, and all the connections, cable, etc. So this particular unit here, it's available with free delivery directly from freetv.ie.